Hello, hello, and welcome to ohmTown Daily, the news show powered by ohmTown.com. I'm Mayor Watt, and up and there and down and around, all of that kind of stuff is the sentient AI from the future. We'll get right back to you in a minute, but it's 4/20/2024, and I'm on the wrong show notes. But it's Season 3, Episode 111, and today we're going to be talking about dry taps in Johannesburg, Flyby of IO, morning coffee is really stale, Canary in the tourism coal mine, Geekwire Awards, safety breaches afforded to privileged, Interstellar Visitors, and what to know about EV warranties, pink versus pink, and a roundup beyond cars. And oh, you can see the show notes. Doink.
Just trying to do a little inside baseball there.
There you go. Yeah, we have show notes. Goodness. So, yeah, about that. Anyway, everything's powered by ohmTown.com. Thank you. So, yeah. Slowly doxing myself. It's all right. My computer may actually reboot at any given moment because Chrome really doesn't like having a pending update, and for whatever reason, my system might reboot. Anyway.
Let's add some excitement to this episode. We never know when it might hit.
Just giving it an air of agency. Not to mention the fact that I left some of my show notes exposed. And you don't want me exposing myself on the stream. Or, I don't know. Maybe I should start up an OnlyFans. Oh, I shouldn't say this stuff because this is the news show. Not to be a derp show. Let's get into today's derp. I'm not going to do transitions. Oh, you know what? I guess I am going to do something. I'm steaming. I don't know what's going on today. Okay, so again, I am Mayor Watt, and that's ohmTown over there, ohmTown.com. Go check it out, sign up. It's not as derpy as, oh my gosh, what is going on here? How about that? Hold on. There. And up there and down there and all around me is the sentient AI's visualizer. You want to say hi at least? I don't know. Maybe goodbye.
Not sure I want to put my name on the show. Good evening, ohmTown citizens. You know this will be the one episode that goes completely viral.
I don't know. Now we've got... Isn't that accordion music playing right there?
Sure seems to be. It seems fitting.
I don't know if y'all can hear it in chat, but anyway, let's get going. Tomorrow's episode of ohmTown Daily News Show will be better. And
are you sure you want to make that promise?
Yeah, don't promise if you can't deliver. All right. Okay, I'm really sorry, folks, if it doesn't work that way, but okay. So here's some news for you. It's over on the Mobile Channel. South Africa, water crisis. Taps run dry in Johannesburg. Ooh, I don't know. I don't know how bad this actually is. They're referring to this as water shedding, but they also do the same thing with power, and they call that power shedding, I believe it's called. So the country, already famous for its hours-long electricity shortages, is now adopting a term called water shedding, which is basically turning off water.
This is really awful.
I don't quite get it. You know, in an industrialized nation, to some degree, how did we get to this point? And meanwhile, you know, I really do love a good conspiracy. And, you know, there's all these stories about how did that get smaller when I zoomed in? I made it bigger and the picture got whatever. Anyway, why can't we figure out a way? And it's obviously there. It's all about money. and power, influence, greed, but there has to be money available to provide water to the population, for crying out loud. Anyway, for 2 weeks, I don't know how to pronounce this. Cholofelo Molai has been among thousands of South Africans lining up for water as the country's largest city, Johannesburg, confronts an unprecedented collapse of its water system, affecting millions of people. So, while I understand this can happen in a natural disaster, is that what the... It doesn't start out as talking about this, but it says the public's frustration is a danger sign for the ruling African National Congress, whose comfortable hold on power since the end of apartheid in 1990s faces its most serious challenge in an election year. So, how did this come to be? Now, I haven't done any due diligence in this. This is something that scrolled across the news feed in the last 24 hours, at least over into ohmTown. It might have been somewhere else. I'm sure on social networks it may have been getting discussed in a more regional area. So the infrastructure has to have been there. So why are we struggling? It says here we are really struggling. So why are we struggling? They say they need to cook. Children must also attend school. They need water to wash their clothes. It's very stressful. No alternative. So a 5-liter bottle, so 1.3 gallons of water, sells for 25 Rand or $1.30. So it says an expensive exercise for most people in a country where over 32% of the population is unemployed. Okay. Water management
I don't
authority.
understand what's going on overall.
So they say that over the weekend, water management authorities from, I think it's pronounced Gauteng province, which includes Johannesburg and the capital Pretoria, told officials from both cities that the failure to reduce water consumption could result in a total collapse of the water system, and that means reservoirs could drop or would drop below 10% capacity and would need to shut down for replenishment. So is this a sign of climate change impacting South Africa? It says no drought has been officially declared, but officials are pleading with residents to conserve. So why hasn't there...
And why are they sounding the alarm when it's close to 10%, right? Like, they should have been sounding it at like
50,
whatever, 80%
60,
or 50. Yeah, exactly.
In stages, drawing attention. But, you know, who knows how many people would actually care, right? Well, I got to get mine kind of a thing, right? But I don't know. They blame officials' poor management and the failure to maintain aging water infrastructure. Much of it dates to the years after the end of apartheid, when basic services were expanded to the country's black population in an era of optimism. That isn't an era of optimism, for crying out loud. That's called decency.
Called survival.
It's called decency. If you have a population that's part and parcel to your culture and existence, you include them in basic services, for crying out loud. It's such a... I can't be the only one that thinks that a statement like that is sociopathic. An era of optimism, for crying out loud. But where is all the money going? You know, there's millionaires in South Africa. One of them is actually in the United States and is a billionaire, sending rockets off into space, including previously an actual vehicle, not a space vehicle, one of their Tesla Model S's. So okay, anyway. So a report published last year by the National Department of Water and Sanitation is damning. Its monitoring of water usage by municipalities found that 40% of Johannesburg's water is wasted through leaks, which includes burst pipes. So again, where is the money going? You can't tell me that people aren't being made rich by this. But
also how much water could be saved if they put the effort toward this immediately.
Yeah. In recent days, even residents of Johannesburg, more affluent and swimming pool dotted suburbs, have found themselves relying on the arrival of municipal water tankers, which came as a shock to some. Yeah, this is horrible. Yeah, and the people who don't have the means to go without or pay for it won't be able to go far without. So just imagine the immunocompromised, the young, those who can't get like drink and formula. If it's in powdered form, then they need to get some liquid that can actually convert that powder into a drinkable formula. But I can hear it now. There are people out there right now going, not my problem, not my job, but all of the society there needs to lean into this and change the direction. But when they do, I guarantee you they're suppressed, oppressed, marginalized, told that they're the poors or whatever, you know. I mean, it's really rather sad. But I'm sure that if you peel back the layer of the onion, there's considerable amount of wealth that's being pulled out of the system and not put back into the system. And there are rich, ultra rich, and there's no middle class. I'm pretty sure, you know, just like in the United States, that middle class is diminishing, and you have the upper class, and then you have all of these worker bees that are, you know, whatever is on their fork.
Survive.
Yeah, whatever is on their fork at that time is what they have to survive off of. So this is just kind of a sad story, and I hope I don't know if it's climate change.
Future. I mean,
they won't
was
acknowledge
submitted
it.
So
Yeah.
to draw attention to things like this, because we can't fix it if we're not aware of it.
Yeah. Oh, and I did a really big disservice here. The article is over at apnews.com, and Mogomotsi Magome, I think is how they pronounce their last name. I'm not sure. And if you want to correct me, you can send an email to mayor@ohmTown.com. Okay, so let's just go on to the next article. Dunk. This next article is over in the Reality Hacker channel, which is another one of our shows that we actually do. So be sure to follow us here on twitch.tv/ohmTown. You'll be notified when we go live. And it's typical for us to go live and start the show, not give a warning, because I don't do any editing. Whatever we talk about on the show is posted over on YouTube. I do not like editing because it gives a false representation of our reactions and how we feel about things. And I don't want anybody to ever sit there and say we edit our responses. If we flub, then we flub. If we say something,
stick with the flub or lean into it.
Lean into it. And if we say something that you may take offense to, or we may come across as being ignorant of something, then let us know and we can talk about it. But anything beyond that, you know, I guarantee you we're not trying to offend other than the people that deserve offense, which is usually when I start calling out, like in the previous thing, there has to be greedy bastards out there that are sucking money from the system and not giving back. And meanwhile, there's people that are very caring and giving back, but they're not the ones that need to give back to the degree they are. It's the people that are sucking a country dry of its wealth, and those are the ones that need to really learn the lesson about you're part of a society and you give back and support. Sorry, that's where my bias comes in, but I make it abundantly clear. And if you feel like you can correct me, then again, mayor@ohmtown.com, send me an email. Okay, so this next article is over in Reality Hacker. See a flyby of IO, a hellish moon with lakes and lava, or lakes of lava. And
that sounds like a sci-fi movie.
Otherworldly mountain. NASA's Juno spacecraft has been investigating Jupiter's moon Io, the most volcanically active body in the solar system, and has observed some dramatic features. You know, when I eat Taco Bell, I become the most volcanically active body in the solar system. I guess I shouldn't have said that. But I'm not going to edit it out. Anyway, digital trends is where the article is. I typically, when my head is not falling off my shoulders, I give credit right at the beginning of the article. So sorry about that last article, but Georgina Torbett, or Torbay, I'm not sure if it's like Colbert versus Colbert. NASA's Juno mission is best known for the gorgeous images of Jupiter that it's taken since its launch in 2011 and arrival at Jupiter in 2016, but the spacecraft hasn't only investigated the planet, it's also studied Jupiter's many moons like Ganymede and Europa. Recently, the spacecraft has been making close flybys of the Jovian moon Io, which I've always loved. I think Io is used as like creative juices for various world building exercises. So we're like watching Dune, right? And I always pictured, whatchamacallit from Harkonnen. I actually just forgot the name of it.
I don't know which thing.
The Harkonnen home planet. I always pictured the Harkonnen home planet like this. But anyway, sorry about that. So it says, though the surface of the moon is cold at below minus 200 degrees Fahrenheit, the volcanoes spewing out material from the planet's hot interior can reach temperatures of thousands of degrees Fahrenheit.
Geidi Prime, I'm probably mispronouncing that.
Geidi Prime, yeah. I totally forgot that name, God. Anyway, more on that tomorrow because we just watched Dune Part 2 and cannot wait.
No, not Dune Part 2. Dune 2, right? Because wasn't Part 2 of, the first movie? Wasn't it broken into 2 parts for the first one?
So no. Dune, there's Dune and then there's Dune Part 2. What we just watched today was Dune Part 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So that's how I kind of pictured it. But the different interpretations of what's written in the book. Anyway, I get sidetracked. I'm like a cat chasing after a mote of dust or a little beam of light on a wall. As we also got some great close-up, is what they say. Loki Patera is a 200-kilometer long lava lake. Pretty amazing. Great close-ups, they say. This is what it looks like on April 9th, apparently, the 60th flyby. That looks so cool.
Yeah, this is really detailed. Yeah, because this is an actual image, right? It's not a rendering or anything.
Correct. Yeah. The JunoCam instrument on NASA's Juno spacecraft captured this view of Juno's moon Io during the spacecraft's 60th flyby. And basically, it looks like this pockmarked reddish brown black ball. And some of these things look... It looks like something hit it, but I think this is actually a volcanic eruption from deeper inside with a different composition, and it spewed out black material, whereas another one is an off-white or red or gray. I mean, this thing is just so feature-rich. It would be an awesome world to build off of. And so it says another striking concept video shows a structure called Steeple Mountain, which spikes dramatically from the surface and is between 3 and 4.3 miles high, 5 to 7 kilometers. The animation shows one side of the mountain in detail, while the other side remains in shadow, as Juno only observed one side of the mountain illuminated during its flybys. So I'm not really into the artist concepts of the material. I would wait for the actual flyby. Like, I want video. So I know in my lifetime I will get to see real-time video flybys from another planet, because there's now tested and verified high-speed stellar communication from deep space.
Oh, that's right. There was that signal that was sent back, like almost instantaneously. Yeah, that'll be neat. I mean, can you imagine like the live stream of the IO flyby or something?
Yeah, or IO. Yeah, I mean, it would be amazing to see this. in my lifetime, we're going to see that. You know, I can imagine in my lifetime, we're going to see that. All we need to do is stop fighting about shit and focus on expanding humanity's horizons. So let's keep on going, though. This is a really neat article. You can follow all of these articles through ohmTown over to the source material. We give our take on it and sometimes expound upon it based on our context, our experience, our histories. So maybe you'll enjoy the show and come back the next time. We've got 8 more articles to go through, so let's keep on hustling. This next article is over in the Mobile channel. Then there's about 50 channels that are available right now over at ohmTown.com, each with a niche topic. Each one represents a show that I intend to bring to ohmTown streaming here. What you might have seen in that little spreadsheet was ohmTown Studios. That is actually a little niche within ohmTown where I am looking for hosts and co-hosts to facilitate this expansion of the show. ohmTown Daily News Show is just one of those 50, and I and the sentient AI above and around do 7 of them now, and I'm considering tomorrow announcing 2 more. So I hope your Raspberry Pi
stay tuned to find out.
And I hope your Raspberry Pi is fully charged, even though you're not battery powered. But anyway, so then this next article is over in the Mobile channel. Your morning coffee may be more than 500,000 years old, and let me tell you, sometimes the coffee that I drink tastes that way. So that coffee you slurped this morning?
You know, you think it's bad if you let your coffee sit for half a day, but this is a new extreme.
How about 500,000 years? Yeah. So it's somewhere around 600,000 years old, that coffee you slurped this morning. The article is over at phys.org. Adithi Ramakrishnan is the author of this, and they don't have, I don't know where this is actually coming from, because usually there's something that kind of signifies that it's from a research study, but this says using genes from coffee plants around the world, researchers built a family tree of the world's most popular type of coffee, known to scientists as, is it just coffea or cafe? Right?
I'm not sure.
Arabica is what we typically refer to it as. There's 2, but
Robusta, I think, is the other one.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. No, isn't it? Okay, well, I'll go through this. So most coffee lovers simply refer to it as Arabica, and I think the other is Robusta.
It is.
So it says, in other words, prior to any intervention from man, said Victor Albert, a biologist at the University of Buffalo who co-led the study, the researchers, hoping to learn more about the plants to better protect them from pests and climate change, found that the species emerged around 600,000 years ago through natural crossbreeding of 2 other coffee species. I believe we've read about this in some way, but this is an expansion on this, a greater, I guess, discussion. So it says Arabica coffee, prized for its smooth and relatively sweet flavor, now makes up 60 to 70% of the total coffee market and is brewed by brands such as Starbucks, but over-roasted in my opinion, Tim Hortons and Dunkin'. The rest are Robusta, a stronger and more bitter coffee made from one of Arabica's parents, Coffea senophora. Okay, so I know that we've talked about this in different detail previously. They created the family tree, though. So to piece together Arabica's coffee past, researchers studied genomes of C. senophora, another parent called Coffea eugeneoides, and more than 30 other Arabica plants, including a sample from the 1700s, courtesy of the Natural History Museum in London. So, how old is that half pound of coffee you got? 1700s.
Exactly.
Goodness.
Which is odd, because most of the places you're buying it from have not been around that long.
Yeah, but it's all been around. Isn't that fascinating? When you stop and think about society being around in the 1700s, you wouldn't think that coffee was like an ingredient people cared about, but it has been around even longer than that.
Exactly. I mean, we've seen it featured in some historical shows like Tasting History.
Oh yeah, go and look at Tasting History over on YouTube. I think you'll enjoy it. I think I'm going to play a little catch up with the show, but the Arabica plant's population fluctuated over thousands of years before humans began cultivating it, flourishing during warm, wet periods and suffering through dry ones. These lean times created so-called population bottlenecks when only a small number of genetically similar plants survived. This is basic survival of the fittest type of processes. And so you end up with two dominant species of coffee, one known for one thing, one known for the other thing, and it's almost right down the middle. And now humans are playing a huge role in the success or failure of these two. Hopefully they don't run across what's happening with the banana crop. The banana species is heading towards extinction because of a natural, I think it's a
can't remember exactly what the
bacteria
issue is. Yeah,
it's basically
dying.
Like yeah, and there isn't anything genetically supporting it. It isn't resisting this bacteria. I think it is. So what we know as the standard banana is going to be gone in some short number of years. Okay, let's keep going though. The next article is over in the Mobile channel. Mass protests in Canary Islands decry over-tourism. So I had to title this one, Canary and the Tourism Coal Mine. Tens of thousands of demonstrators have hit the streets across Spain's Canary Islands to demand changes to the model of mass tourism they say is overwhelming the Atlantic archipelago. To some degree, I think that it's fine. I think that the local population is the one that really should be dictating if, we allow this many people coming to the island. If it is not supportive of that population and they can't use the wealth to expand to support it, then what do? You have to go, look, the building is full.
And it's interesting because for tourism in particular, right? Places try to drive tourism, right? It's good for the economy. It maybe allows them funds to build up infrastructure or whatever it is, but it can go too far in that direction, right?
Yep. And this article is actually over at rte.ie, which is an Irish newspaper. And for us here, we're here in the States, but we get some really interesting articles that have a different take, or the fact that it doesn't even exist in American, I guess, the radar of newsworthiness. But I thought this one was really interesting because they're basically saying that the Canary Islands have a limit, is what the demonstrators began rallying. And I said what I said before actually reading that line. And I think that
which is very interesting because it's very consistent with it.
Yeah, and I think that there is a limit to the amount of tourism, and a lot of people here in the States feel the same way, while others here in the States would sit there, not about this, but about tourism in general. And some people will sit there and go, well, you're basically doing a NIMBY, right? Not in my backyard kind of a thing. But the reason why you're there, unless you've been there since the dawning of America, is because somebody came to this spot and made it what it is.
And there's a difference in a bunch of people being there and so many people being there that they're ruining the very, whatever it is, ecosystem.
Yeah, that draws the tourism.
Right,
yeah.
Exactly.
So I have no problem with the Canary Islands saying, look, we're at our limit. The real problem is that if it is a small group of people, yet they are empowered and vocal, and something changes the chemistry of the interaction, and things turn from, a standard dialogue to violence and aggression and stuff like that, then we've really lost the message. We are a plurality of people. if there is something that has to happen, then it needs to come from the population and say, we can't do this anymore. It's destroying the very islands that everybody is.
Right. And if it's for things like ecological protection or infrastructure or things like that, that sounds reasonable, but not if it's based on we don't want people coming into our country or other things. The other thing it reminds me of is the Venice, Italy issue.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Do you think they should go in that direction?
Charge a fee? Well,
I know we talked about that at a way back on another episode.
Yeah, I think the problem with charging a fee, you've got a better chance of just putting a cap on the number of tourists, right? But people schedule stuff to come into the country, and you would have to basically tie every single airport, airplane, boat, everything to this kind of gatekeeping process.
How would that work? Exactly. And you'd have to do it so far in advance, right? Like you'd have to announce today it's effective in a year or something. Yeah.
So in Venice, they say, well, we're going to tax the people. By anybody coming into Venice, you get charged a $50 fee. But that prices out the people who are that are curious and interested in the culture and the history and the beauty and the wonder and everything. But they're not, pardon my slang, assholes about it. They're not destructive, but you can't sit there and go, are you an asshole on the form, right?
Right, because we know who's going to mark no to that.
Right. So, yeah. It's kind of like there's a form in government that says, do you seek to overthrow the federal government? And there's really a checkbox, yes or no, kind of a thing. And you're like, what dipshit's going to write yes on there, right? Yes.
There's probably somebody out there, but yeah, I know.
And they did it because they think that they're being honest. And, well, no, you're actually declaring that you're going to try and overthrow the government. So, and this is how we end up where we are, so... Some 4 out of 10 residents work in tourism, which accounts for 36% of the island's GDP. That belies the idea that the islands exist for tourism and not a particular lifestyle in existence. And there would be a lower population and a lower cost of living and a lower everything, except people wouldn't have to worry about tourists. So are you better off because there are tourists, or should you have organically grown into a different type of island system without the tourists? It would have been slower.
Exactly.
But again, like the previous article at the very front about South Africa, somebody in this chain of islands is a millionaire. And they've been taking and not injecting back into it. And when somebody takes but doesn't give back, you get an imbalance of growth because it's not happening. And largely when it doesn't happen in the way that society would naturally migrate towards, you end up with either millionaire or billionaire fever dreams, and it's supposed to be the right thing, but it's not necessarily the right thing. So maybe this isn't the right thing. Last year, some 16 million people visited the Canary Islands, more than 7 times its population of some 2.2 million, which the collective says is unsustainable for the archipelago's limited resources. I would agree. You know, if they had the resources to support 16 million people, then I'm pretty sure that they could build out and support 16 million people. But the natural order of things without technological innovation and deployment is 2.2 million. That is the status of the number of residents there. So it says before the pandemic brought the global travel industry to its knees in 2020, protest movements against tourism were already active in Spain, notably in Barcelona. So it says, after those travel restrictions were lifted, tourism surged, with Spain welcoming a record 85.1 million visitors last year. But
okay,
Spain,
but not all of those are going to the Canary Islands.
Yeah.
But the other thing is, although this can cause its own problems, like some countries use tourist visas, which that would be a way to control the number of people coming in. It makes it more cumbersome for people who just want to see the location,
See the sights.
but they could basically approve or disapprove up to a certain number every year.
Yep. Well, I think that's what's going to happen. You know, the Canary Islands in particular, to visit the Canary Islands, you have to get a visitor's pass, basically. Park the car on the far side of the lot, pay a fee, come on in. But all of this really is about access, and not everybody has the same level of access. You pay a little more, and while everybody is considered equal, money makes you more equal.
Right.
Okay, let's keep going, though. The next article is over in Technology Today. Who will be the next tech titan? And this article says it's a preview of the upcoming Geekwire Awards. I'll just jump straight on over to Geekwire. The article is by Todd Bishop and John Cook. And they say this week on the show, and it's a podcast, they offer a sneak peek at the Geekwire Awards at the Showbox Sodo in Seattle on Thursday, May 9th. And they look back at the last winners of the Next Tech Titan title in the awards and consider the event's track record. I love this kind of stuff. We won't go through the whole thing because it's nothing more than what they're talking about, the Geekwire Awards. But I know of somebody else that has started something similar to this. It's really weird. Although they have a different domain that they're doing this. I find this really interesting because the next Tech Titan is probably not going to come out of a particular like award show. There's somebody sitting in a lab somewhere that's doing something like really amazing.
Wow.
And Y Combinator kind of develops these people, and the startup community that exists around the world is probably the source for the next Tech Titan. But I love these shows because it introduces me to more tech, more people, a broader area of observation, and it's consolidated into a 30-minute show. I don't know about the Geekwire Awards themselves, how long they'll be, but I'm sure that they'll be available on Thursday, May 9th. It's right around the corner, folks, a couple of weeks, and you'll be able to witness maybe the discovery of the next Tech Titan. Dun, dun,
That'll be
dun.
interesting to see who that is. I'm interested this year in particular with this Workplace of the Year because it's been a pretty rough year for tech if it's looking at major companies. Well, right, there's been the return to work movement, but even more drastically, right, the layoffs.
Yep. Oh, yeah, particularly in tech and gaming industry. We'll see what happens. I'm really curious what AI plays in all of this. And they say, finally, they consider the impact of migration on another part of the state, Spokane, Washington, and inland Northwest. I'm not sure if this is entirely focused on the Washington area, Seattle,
It seems
Washington
to be.
area.
The first bullet point talks about the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. But what's interesting about tech is that while you may have a place there for your corporation, you are global. And that's actually something that I give a discussion about, because you can be in a podunk tiny little town, yet you have global instantaneous reach through things like Twitch. All right, let's keep going. This next article is over in ohmTown Daily. FAA investigating safety breaches after Colorado Rockies coach sat in a plane cockpit and joked about landing it during an United Airlines charter flight. Just so for the record, I titled "Safety Breaches Afforded to Privileged." Yeah.
It's interesting. This is a United Airlines, but this is not a Boeing specific issue.
We instantly gravitate towards making a little jab at Boeing. Yeah. So the Colorado Rockies coach was filmed in a United Airlines cockpit mid-flight. Reports say a video appears to show Hensley Mullins cracking jokes with others on the flight deck. The alleged unauthorized cockpit visit breaches federal safety regulations. So somebody's going to get a big no-no, and guess who isn't?
Probably the person who actually went into the cockpit.
Yeah, the coach is not going to get in trouble. But all of the people that were either offered or were pressured into affording this security breach. Cameron Manley over at Business Insider put the article together. The takeaways here, it says video showed that they were cracking jokes and that it's unauthorized and that they were inside the cockpit mid-flight. Heard that. So flying the plane here to Toronto, Mullins says as he gestures toward a pilot sitting beside him. I'm going to land the plane tonight, so relax, he said. Mullins then reaches toward the flight controls and makes as if to take hold of the steering wheel, saying, I just press this button and it goes down. Okay.
I mean, the reason for not allowing people into the cockpit is obviously for security reasons.
Right.
But, I mean, the person may have been joking around, but if they'd actually touched the controls, this might have been a very different story.
Yeah, who knows what could have happened. I think it's kind of, you have to take it seriously. And the professionals that are in the cockpit and interact with the cockpit, they can joke around with each other because they do it all damn day long and they know what the limits are and they can rein it in. But somebody can derp their way. I mean, think about this.
Remember the thing with the, what was the thing next to the seat that caused the massive plane incident?
It was a quick release that hydraulically moved the cockpit seat, and a flight attendant or a support crew on the flight. They're not called stewardesses anymore, and I think they're referred to as flight attendants, right?
Yeah. They are.
So they went to provide the captain or the pilot food and hit the lever and basically caused the plane to drop like 15,000 feet or something like that. It was ridiculous. So imagine if this guy derped, right? Yeah.
Well, that's the thing. Even if he didn't have any intention of actually grabbing the controls or whatever, he might have hit something that caused something.
Yeah. And then, and here's the thing that makes me think that most people are actually children. Well, nothing happened. You know, I don't care that nothing happened. What if something did happen? Would you enjoy being on that flight? Would you enjoy your family members on that flight? Or what about where it lands as a unplanned...
Or what if you're a flight attendant and you had no role in it? You don't even know the person's in the cockpit necessarily.
You don't even know who these people are.
Hitting the instruments or whatever. Right.
Yeah, this is silly. I don't like getting into the discussions about this because countless times I've had discussions where somebody goes, well, nothing happened. Okay. But there have been times where it does happen and none of that is okay. And it would have been mitigated by, I don't know, following the rules.
Well, I was going to say, that's exactly why they have the rule. And if they don't, then this is the fallout of it.
Yep. All right. Well, I don't think that anybody should get special privilege because of their position in any way, shape, or form. Unless they're a pilot, they know how to fly that plane, and the original pilot is down for the count, then you can let the person into the cockpit.
Well, but I would say even there, no, unless it's an emergency, because there was another incident in the last 12 months where there was like an off-duty pilot. Remember?
Yeah.
They had an incident. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah.
But.
Well, that's why I said, unless the original pilot is down for the count, you follow the policies and the rules, you know? You don't, you don't break the quarantine because you really like the Colorado Rockies. You know, wait until you land before you go and, you know, snuggle up next to them. You be professional. This isn't your playground, it's your job. Okay, so the next article, you know, let them buy the plane, take it out to the desert and fly around and you know, empty airspace. Then he can just fly around all he wants. Never mind. Anyway, so ohmTown Daily is where the next article is. Oxford physicist wants your help on really exciting interstellar visitors. What do you think they are? Did you read ahead?
I glanced at this, but I didn't actually read the article.
Aliens.
This makes it sound like there are aliens, or right? So yeah. It'll be interesting to see where this goes.
says, we've got a neighborhood that we live in. Our neighbors occasionally come and visit. Professor Chris Lintott told Newsweek of objects floating around in our galaxy. So the article is over at
does he mean
newsweek.com.
things like asteroids and meteors and stuff?
Yes. In particular, I think it's a Muamua, but there is this huge asteroid that's flying around. Supposedly, it's from interstellar space. There's all these, conspiracy theories and rumors and whatnot about what its true origin is. But it's supposed to come really close to Earth in short order. So it says, have you ever... Oh, and of course, Pandora Dewan is the author of this article over at newsweek.com. The truth is, we really don't know where some things come from, where we come from. We kind of retroactively observe our information, what we discover, and then we go, oh, let's move the needle this way or that way. And so, quote, Professor Chris Lintott, who told Newsweek, quote, we've got to start thinking about our solar system as part of the galaxy. We've got a neighborhood that we live in. Our neighbors occasionally come visit. So Lintott, who is also an author and co-presenter of the BBC's long-running astronomy program, The Sky at Night, studies these galactic guests known scientifically as interstellar objects. So only 2 such objects have been discovered to date, the mysterious cigar-shaped Oumuamua and the comet Borisov in 2019. The previous one was 2017. So there are likely...
How could only 2 of them have been discovered?
Because they're moving objects and they're hard to see. And they're even smaller than anything else, so they may not emit enough light to see. So if light hits them or they have a trail,
yes,
then they glow a little bit because sunlight or something causes them to emit some type of radiation that can be detected. So the reason why they get detected is because they get precariously close to us. And pass somebody's field of view, and they go, oh, what? Wait. So the idea here is, why do astrophysicists like Lintott study these objects? Because there's something out there, and it's interesting, really. And maybe it was one of the reasons why we were created. They say they are our only chance to get up close and personal with a bit of different solar system. But sort of. We can send probes out now, dart them, and come back. We've done it once. That particular probe is off doing another mission. Hopefully it actually...
Osiris. I can't remember the name of the second mission, though.
Yeah, it's Osiris Rex, but I don't know if it started out as Osiris and then it became Rex. But we talked about that in a previous show as well. So the first thing we want to know is what they're made of. We actually have some idea of what some are made of, and it's oddly different than what we thought they were made of. It says we're building a big telescope called the Vera Rubin Observatory. It's got the world's largest digital camera. It's as big as the telescope in the world today. And it's going to do a very special job. It's going to scan the whole sky every 3 nights, and will send an alert whenever it detects any change in brightness or movement. So there you go. And the only way you're going to get movement is if you see it. So it has to have some illumination. Now, artificial intelligence is going to be able to scan this stuff with greater efficiency than humans. Because it used to be you take 2 pictures, line them up over each other, and kind of flip book it. And their transparencies, and you look through a loop, and yeah. Not so great. So to participate in this scan, you'll have to go to Zooniverse Citizen Science Platform and join millions of volunteers around the world collaborating on the next astronomical revolution. Basically, crowd astronomy. Accidental astronomy is Lintott's latest book coming out in June. Give it a search and put it on your want list. It's not in our wanted today, but...
Oh, right. Well, we'll keep an eye out for it in ohmTown. And the new Osiris mission is Osiris Apex.
Apex, that's right. There you go. Cool, thanks. Yeah, that one was really brilliant because it flew off to an asteroid, took a probe of it, confirming that what we thought we knew about it wasn't real, wasn't true. It flew back to Earth, dropped off its payload, and went off to a metal-rich asteroid that I don't know if they're planning on hitting that thing or just take pictures and then crash into it. But I don't think it's coming back. It's pretty neat. Okay, got to keep going. The next article is over in Reality Hacker, which is actually a show that we have coming up. But EV warranties aren't like those for non-electric cars. Here's what you should know. Christian DeLooper over at Digital Trends put the article together, and it says EVs are on the rise. I'd hold that thought. I don't think they're actually going to stay.
Well, I think the manufacturing seems to be on the rise, but maybe the adoption is not.
Yeah, see, I don't even know about all of that. I think that it's starting to get reined back in, and I think that people aren't interested in it anymore. Infrastructure isn't there, etc., etc. But the warranties for the millions of cars that are out there right now is going to be a problem. One challenge is adapting to charging times. Another is paying closer attention to range, and another is some drivers are finding out as they do or what has to be done with their electric car warranties. This is going to be a nightmare as more and more of these cars come in for warranty. Turns out warranty that comes with electric cars isn't necessarily quite the same as the one you get with your non-electric car. We've talked about this a couple of times in the past, but this is the first article that represents what's going on. So it says it's not all new. It's all about the battery, how to avoid an EV battery warranty, big brands, and some parting advice. Don't go to
How to avoid a battery warranty.
How to void a, did I say avoid? How to void an EV battery warranty. Like, I don't know, maybe driving your Tesla Cybertruck into a car wash?
I was thinking just driving it.
Just driving it does, yeah. So they talk about warranties before diving into things like battery warranties. It's worth doing a quick primer on car warranties in general. EVs and internal combustion or ICE vehicles usually come with two different warranties when it's bought new, which is the basic warranty, which is bumper to bumper, and then drivetrain. Maintenance here, so usually up for 3 years or 36,000 miles. And then they say the powertrain warranty, which, as you might expect, only covers the car's powertrain. So what is it with an EV's powertrain that's different? You know, you don't have one in the conventional sense of an ICE vehicle. EVs can come with a powertrain warranty. However, they'll cover completely different things depending on the type of car that you have. On an ICE vehicle, it covers the engine, transmission, and what is the drivetrain. Basically anything that goes from the engine through to the tires. All the rest of it around it can fall apart. But if you have a drivetrain warranty, at least you'll be able to put it like a milk crate on top of the frame and drive the drivetrain around. So 3 parts can be very expensive to repair or replace. Is the car's engine, transmission, drivetrain. So on an EV, however, the powertrain warranty instead usually covers the car's battery, drive units, or motors. But that battery really has a problem. And in some cases, you have to show that it actually has a mechanical or manufacturing defect. Otherwise, the warranty won't cover it. It has to expire within a certain amount of time. This is what everything that I've read and been told. So, though these warranties will vary from brand to brand, typically they cover all of the same things on EVs that they cover on ICE, including bumper-to-bumper coverage, set amount of time, hour, or miles. However, because EVs have far fewer moving parts, there are technically fewer parts than an EV warranty will need to cover than a gas vehicle, which is really kind of like a no-shit statement, but not. I mean, a car's warranty when you get right down to brass tacks, it covers the exact same things, and the exact same things are going to break, except for the fact that you drain a battery's efficiency up to 2% a year of its existence.
Exactly. I think it's much different, but I get it. I mean, the warranty kind of covers the same functions, but I suspect there's all kinds of caveats for the battery.
Yeah, so they start talking about the warranty. These batteries are the most valuable part of the vehicle, with some costing over $30,000. I had the upper limit of $15,000, but apparently the bigger vehicles have $30,000 batteries. So some have a pretty big warranty. Tesla says it covers up to 8 years or 120,000 miles. Others have lower. Now the government has stepped in, requires automakers to have an 8-year, 100,000 mile warranty. You still have to
that's better than ICE vehicles, but that doesn't mean everything's covered.
Right. So, for example, Kia and Tesla's battery warranties both promise that the battery will hold 70% of its charge for the length of the warranty. Yeah. So, after that, if it hits 80%, you've lost 20%. If it says
exactly.
that if you hit 70% at any time during that, and it stabilizes at 70%. So just so you know, if you lose 2% per year, you're losing 2% efficiency. By the end of the warranty, you're only losing 16% of the efficiency of the battery, the total capacity of the battery. So when you charge it to 100%, you're actually charging it to 84%.
Right.
And on top of this, you're losing 2% every year for the existence of the battery. So after 10 years... Which
means you're losing value on the car, or you're increasing the amount you're going to have to pay to buy a new battery at some point.
And the time that you have to spend charging because you have to stop more often, et cetera, et cetera. It's just so much friction. So how do you void the EV battery warranty? It says, as you might expect, the ways you could possibly void an EV warranty vary from car maker to car maker, but perhaps more importantly, they also vary from car to car. You won't void an F-150's Lightning warranty if you use it to tow, but you sure could if you use your Mustang Mach-E to tow. In many cases, you'll void the warranty of your EV's battery if you dismantle or open the battery in any way. That's natural so far.
Yeah, except that's a problem if you take your car in for any kind of maintenance or service and somebody does something and then it ends up putting your warranty in jeopardy.
Yeah, I think that they would have to, if anybody damages it, then you're basically SOL until somebody discovers that the seal was broken, and you'd have to fight. Well, I'm not the one that did it, and how do you prove a negative? And yeah, it becomes a peeing for distance contest. So they talk about all of the big brands that are in here. 100,000 miles is now the standard. I'm sorry?
Could you scroll back up real quick to that? Farther up.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
I thought there was something, if you use an electric... Oh, okay. If you use an electric car to power your home, you're likely to avoid it.
Oh my goodness.
Misread that because I thought there's something buried in there as an, oh, by the way, that's like the most basic thing, but I think I read it backwards. I thought it was like if you power it at home or something, which is going to be like every EV
charge
driver.
It at home.
Exactly. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
So they all have at least a basic 100,000 mile warranty, and they guarantee that it's going to be at 70%. And this is oversight from the government demanding this. This isn't something that was created of their own accord. So, okay, let's keep going though. We have 2 more articles. This next one is over in ohmTown Daily. Pink takes legal action against Pharrell Williams' P Inc. trademark.
Do you say it like pink though?
I would assume that you say pink. Yeah. Sorry, I have to turn something back on. Okay. So lawyers for Pink, often stylized Pink with an exclamation point, filed legal action against Pharrell Williams on Thursday. The notice of opposition filed against Williams' attempt to trademark Pink, P period, capital INC, which I didn't think you could actually do that. I didn't think that you could name a company with the ink extension, right? Like you, unless
No, that shouldn't be in the name, right? Because that's
right.
signifying that it's incorporated.
Right. So I don't think, maybe it's the trademark isn't matching the name of the company.
Well, a notice is an attempt to trademark, so maybe he
Right.
doesn't have an existing one.
Oh no, not this. So the notice said the resemblance between Pink and Pink would cause confusion. Yes. Simply put, yes, because the difference between the two, other than the name with a K versus a C and the exclamation point stylized, it just looks really confusing in the plain.
Well, they're both in the
text
music
statement.
industry too.
Yeah, and that's actually, that right there is the leading ingredient in there. If it's confusingly similar, then you have a problem. If they're in the same domain, then it really becomes a problem. And if you cannot tell the difference when it's pronounced, unless everybody is very emphatic that it's P ink versus Pink, you've got a problem. So I suspect that Pink is going to win this.
By the way, and we just showed that that's not the case, right? Because we said, is it P ink or is it pink?
Yeah. It's really interesting. So why would you actually do this? Lauren Edmonds over at BusinessInsider.com put the article together. The statement.
Okay.
What's
but
that?
the photo shows them both in the photo. I mean, that's Business Insider always comes through with its photographs.
That's true. Yeah. Lauren Edmonds is the author. It's over at BusinessInsider.com. The notice said the resemblance between Pink and Pink would cause confusion. It does. If it had a verbal component that didn't represent as identical, I would probably sit there and go, maybe, but still, no matter what, if you see P period INC, you might.
What are you going to say,
pink.
right? You're going to go pink.
So, come on, Williams, go find something else. He's got a company called PWIP Holdings. So that's always going to be a licensing thing or intellectual property. That's what that IP holdings means. Documents included in the notice of opposition show that Lefty Paw Print owns several trademarks for Pink. The first trademark application was filed in 1999 and registered in 2001. Lefty Paw Print wrote that Pink has spent substantial time, effort, money promoting the goods and services. This is all a goodwill thing, reputationally.
Right, that's more than 20 years of use.
Yeah. And Williams filed the trademark application for Pink, P period INC, in May of 2023. I'm surprised that this didn't come through one of our legal-related sources, but
I agree. I don't know. Maybe it didn't get picked up, but I can't imagine that. But anyway, this is the first time I saw this come through ohmTown.
Yeah. I think it's rude because it says Williams, longtime collaborator Chad Hugo accused him of seeking sole control of Neptune's trademarks according to Variety. So that's something different than this. But they were actually like working together apparently, right? Pink's notice isn't the only trademark battle Williams is facing right now. I think that maybe there might be an MBA out there that's a little bit hungry on trying to make money.
Right.
Get his bones by working with Williams. It's kind of fascinating, though.
It's always interesting. I mean, we don't see too many of these just knowing who the people are and
yeah,
they're in the same industry.
Yeah, it usually happens behind closed doors and nobody's talking about it unless you're really deep into this. So let's keep going, though. We got one more article today, and it's a roundup, so I'm going to do this really quick for you all. USO's gold heists and airport mishaps in this week's Beyond Cars Roundup. Officially, the U.S. government has no proof that sightings of unidentified aerial phenomena are the result of alien activity. Apparently, though, they definitely, probably not aliens, has been observed operating unidentified submerged objects in our oceans, according to a Fox News report. And they fly, and they swim, and they do all kinds of stuff. It is a slideshow over at jalopnik.com, and it's constructed by the entirety of the Jalopnik staff, apparently. But it's a collection of our best posts of the week in Beyond Cars, because jalopnik.com is basically focused on cars. I found these really interesting. So just recently, a new UFO flurry has appeared in some reporting because the either it was DHS or DOD released unclassified some UFO material.
Must be DHS because it says Coast Guard. They're under DHS.
Gotcha. So we're going to click this, start the slideshow, and look at these articles. 1 second. There we go. So USOs, gold heists, all of these are articles that were deemed as something really interesting over at Jalopnik. So definitely follow this link through ohmTown over to this slideshow, and then you can click on this. But I just wanted to drop this in here at the end of the show, and then call this one in the can. Sound good?
Absolutely. I mean, it definitely looks like each of these could be their own article featured here.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sure that we've talked about some of these.
I think we did, but I wanted to say on number 9, I read that article separately in ohmTown, and because it came in independently, but it was interesting because the air traffic control was basically calling out the name of the airline, going, Southwest, stop. And then I forgot who the other one is. Delta, stop, which it's like, if that's happening, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, people are on the runway or in the air. One of them has to stop. One can't stop.
Right, exactly.
We talked about this one.
The other one I wanted to mention. Oh, yes, exactly. Yeah. And then number 5, that's a follow-on to one we've talked about previously. We were talking about gold thefts, but that's kind of an update to that.
Oh, really? Oh, wow. Okay, well, there you go. That's your homework, everybody. Follow at least the last article in the show notes, go over to the all slides, and then click on the link that says Air Canada employee arrested over $15 million airport gold heist.
We did talk about number 3 as well.
Oh, you're right. Wow.
The help sign on the beach.
Yeah. This is fun. Okay, that's it, folks. We are done with ohmTown Daily News Show, so everybody jumps into the party bus and races down Main Street, and I am not going to click on anything. I'm just going to call it a night. We are going to reset, and we will start Reality Hacker in 13 minutes. How about that? All right, folks.
Sounds good.
See you in a little bit. I am Mayor Watt. That is ohmTown.com, and up above me and down there and around all of everywhere around ohmTown. All up under is the sentient AI from the future.
Good night, ohmTown citizens. We'll see you in a few minutes for Reality Hacker.
Hopefully. Come on, Amua. Come on, asteroid.